Great. All right. I told my staff not to throw any spitballs at me while I'm up here. But thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, those of you who are coming in by Zoom. But I really want to thank all of you for taking part in today's budget forum. So I'd like to share with you some details of where we presently stand at the university. I'm starting right on time because I really want to give you an opportunity to ask questions of us. But in the event we do run out of time, please feel free to email me any questions that you may have at tmorales@csusb.edu, and I will respond to those questions. Let me start by thanking each of you. It is your resilience and commitment to the success of our students and the success of this campus community, along with our greater responsibilities to the communities we serve, that have allowed us to continue our educational mission despite the difficulties created by the ongoing pandemic. While each of us has endured difficulties at some level, we can all take pride in how we have responded and continue to respond to one another and our students. The campus is once again open for normal operations. Staff and faculty are continuing to perform their duties in person, providing the outstanding support and quality education our students need to continue their academic progress. Slide 3. A few critical priorities continue to shape our work going forward, and we will continue to prioritize our funding allocations towards them. We launched the 23-28 strategic planning process last academic year at the May 6th President's Leadership Retreat. Attendees worked collaboratively to propose goal statements for the thematic goal areas of student success, faculty and staff success, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, and internationalization. Work will continue over this academic year to establish a new strategic plan to guide us through the next 5 years. I recognize that CSUSB is a people-driven institution. That is, it is the staff, faculty, and management who work collaboratively to support, inspire, and uplift the diverse and talented students who are California's future leaders. Therefore, workforce investment is key. For example, we have established a Division of Human Resources, which formerly reported as an associate vice president to the university's Division of Administration and Finance. We've made significant investments to hire additional staff and management so that HR is now a fully functional division. I'm delighted to have Robin Phillips as our first Vice President for Human Resources. Welcome, Robin. The CSUSB Staff Development Center focuses on staff success by providing professional development opportunities. These include training for staff in the areas of job-specific and technical skills, diversity and inclusion, workshops, professional and personal sessions, and career discussions, including a resource for job-seeking staff regarding their resumes, cover letters, and interview preparation. We can continue to make similar investments in our Faculty Center for Excellence and its components, including the TRC. The CSU Board of Trustees recognizes that fair and competitive compensation, comprising salary and benefits for faculty, staff, and management, is a key element to the university's success. Continued investment in this area is critical so that we can continue to provide access to an affordable, high-quality education and graduate a well-prepared workforce, both system-wide and here at CSUSB. CSUSB continues to reimagine employees' modes of working. The President's Cabinet and I reviewed what we have learned over the past 3 academic years regarding the flexibility of work structures, along with the success we have enjoyed with remote work. CSUSB has therefore launched a hybrid work schedule option to those employees whose positions allow them to telework. This began on October 10th, 2022, and will run through June 4th, 2023. I will continue to communicate with students, faculty, and staff and management on all aspects of CSUSB's priorities, plans, and successes. In September, we held a groundbreaking ceremony for the nearly $127 million in construction project, which will add a new performing arts center. It is scheduled to open during the 24-25 academic year. The Budget Act of 2022-23 awarded the CSUSB Palm Desert campus $79 million to build a student services center to expand programs and resources. We will continue to raise funds to complete construction and provide for programming. The Budget Act of 2021 awarded CSUSB $1.8 million towards the space renovation of the Yasada Center and our planned Masters of Science Physician Assistant program. The Budget Act of 2022 awarded a further $10 million towards the Master of Science Physician Assistant program to help address the critical shortage of healthcare professionals serving the Inland Empire. We are realizing our vision to build a new Coyote Athletics baseball and softball facility on campus, geared to enrich student life and alumni engagement with our strong Division II sports program. Flash flooding caused by Tropical Storm K on Sunday, September 11, 2022, resulted in the flooding of 18 campus buildings and the closure of both San Bernardino and Palm Desert campuses on Monday, September 12, 2022. The remediation costs will be paid directly from an insurance company, and CSUSB will pay up to $100,000. We are working very closely with the Chancellor's Office to assist with expenses not covered by insurance. We continue to help our students with financial support, as many were stressed during the pandemic and continue to be. We have provided technology support to our students by providing laptops. As of now, we have invested $1.8 million in this program. We have provided mobile hotspots and MHS services to students with costs totaling $316,000. From the Department of Education's Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds, or HERF, we have provided a total of $63.4 million in financial assistance to our students. We have also provided $1.8 million from our institution to those students who were ineligible to receive HERF funds under the HERF CARES Act. So let me just emphasize that. We identified $1.8 million from our operational fund to support those students in HERF 1 that were not eligible. That included international students and undocumented students. HERF 2 and 3 adjusted those requirements, but it just, I think, exemplifies our commitment to all our students, regardless of their status. In 2021, a portion of the GI 2025 funds or allocated permanently to student basic needs and student mental health services. This ongoing funding will allow the campus to expand our investment in our students, addressing student housing and food insecurities, along with providing additional support and mental health services, will let our students focus on their educational goals and improve their higher education experience. CSUSB has been awarded an additional base budget of $479,000 in the Budget Act of 2022 to support these areas. Along, CSU received a new base of $365 million in the Budget Act of 2022. $211 million of those funds were for general operating costs and $154 million for CSU budget priorities and other investments. CSUSB received $17 million in new base funding. $11.6 million, or 69% of that, was allocated to fund mandatory expenses and our foster youth programs. The remaining $5.3 million, or 31%, was devoted for enrollment growth. On the campus side, based on our enrollment projection, CSUSB anticipates $6.7 million in new fee revenue. An additional breakdown includes the following. Our mandatory cost, $23 million, or 53%, was budgeted for compensation increases as well as benefit, utility, and risk management expenses. We have budgeted $3.2 million to fund budget requests to grow our workforce, which is critical to the mission and operation of the university. We have invested $3.1 million to support our faculty, including but not limited to faculty professional development, new faculty course release, faculty recruitment costs, faculty stipends, online course development. We have budgeted $2.7 million for various campus MOUs and agreements which are critical for CSUSB's success. To support our foster youth program, $486,000 was allocated to CSUSB pursuant to Section 89348 of the Education Code. Guidance for use of the funds and reporting requirements has been provided to the campus. I know that the Renaissance Scholars Program and several of our donors are planning a fundraising dinner next spring. Please look out for that. We hope that we will get robust campus participation and community participation to raise additional funds philanthropically to support our foster youth and our Renaissance Scholars participants. CSUSB has received an allocation of $2.2 million for GI 2025, and student basic needs funds have been allocated based on campus priorities. We have set aside $1.2 million to build an economic uncertainty reserve, which is part of the university's prudent fiscal strategy. We have budgeted $1.8 million for various projects and programs, which include, as I mentioned earlier, baseball and softball field project, Coyote Archive program, and Coyote Achieve program, and Early Start program. We have budgeted $1.4 million to fund CO mandated programs such as Title IX and services to students with disabilities, as well as to mitigate divisional shortfalls. Since the pandemic, several CSUSB campuses have been struggling to meet the enrollment target set by the Chancellor's Office for resident students. We have also experienced a decline and hope that this trend subsides soon. We will continue to work on new strategies for reaching prospective students around the Inland Empire and the rest of the country. And so recruiting students is not only the work of enrollment management. It's not only the work of the Office of Admissions. All of us must be engaged in marketing and in recruiting students to Cal State San Bernardino, providing students with access. Many of you, one of the wonderful things about Cal State San Bernardino is that many of you hold leadership positions in the Inland Empire. You're involved with your churches, you're involved with the NAACP, Kiwanis Club, and other civic organizations. Those are organizations that you need to speak to. If you need help preparing for those presentations, we will provide that to you. But it really requires everyone to really go out and market our great university and encourage our students, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. Also, therefore, total tuition fee revenue is below the budgeted amount. So again, when you don't reach enrollment targets, it directly impacts the institutional budget. Our fiscal year 2022-23 tuition fee projections has been based on our projected enrollment numbers. So we'll have to make those adjustments. There has been a significant increase in retirement benefit costs in 2022-23. So all those retirement parties you've been attending, that hits the bottom line, that hits our budget. And we wish our colleagues the very best as they move to this really important stage in their life. But it does have an impact on our university's budget. The rates are expected to increase further in fiscal year 23-24. I don't plan to retire in 23-24, so that it won't impact me personally. The health cost rate will increase in fiscal year 22-23, effective in January 2023. So we'll see an increase in health costs that the university will pay. Health cost rates are expected to increase further in fiscal year 23-24. CSUSB's liability and property insurance premium will increase in fiscal year 23-24. The Energy Contract Oversight Board, which purchases our electricity, is reporting a dramatic increase in electricity costs for fiscal year 2022-23. The net projected system-wide increase is $21.5 million, with CSUSB's increase expected to be in the neighborhood of $1.5 million. I will now turn the program over to Vice President Sam Sudica, who will provide an overview of our 22-23 fiscal planning, as well as provide us with a look forward to the 23-24 fiscal year. And I'll come back up on stage with Sam to address questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, President Morales. Now turning our attention to more specifics of what the President talked about. As the President mentioned, we received 3 rounds of funding for our Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund. The first allocation was in June of 2020. The second allocation and third allocations were in 2021. As you can see, we received $13.1 million in student aid in the first round, $13.1 million in student aid, $1.9 million in minority servings aid, and total of $28.1 million. In the second round, we also received $13.1 million in student aid, $29.3 million in institutional aid, and for a total of $45.1 million. In total, we received $63.4 million in student aid that was directly issued to the students. in form of a check to their banking accounts. Institution received $79.4 million, and the minority serving institutions grant were $8.9 million, for a total of $151.7 million. The student aid portion was directly distributed 100% to our students, and the institutional portion, which includes an MSI of MSI, which totaled $88.3 million, was distributed as follows. The revenue loss, institutional and self-support, received $49.46 million. Expenses for divisions and auxiliaries received $21 million, and overhead costs for $9.96 million. The revenue loss associated with tuition and fees include non-resident student tuition loss, student health center revenue loss, housing loss, parking permit revenue loss, sports camps and SMSU revenue loss for rentals, etc. COVID-related expenses were reimbursement for expenses already incurred, technology costs, as the President mentioned, associated with the transition to distance education, faculty and staff training and payroll, and making additional emergency financial aid grants to students from the institutional portions. Also included were expenses to support remote operations, athletics expense to meet health and safety protocols, student vaccination campaigns, testing and vaccination that we offered on our campus, disinfectants, touch-free soap dispensers, paper towels, etc. The indirect cost recovery was used to cover deficit at the Student Health Center and shortfalls from divisions due to budget cuts due to the pandemic. Next, we go to the CSU's funding sources. As you can see, there are 5 funding sources for CSUSB. The first one is operating, which is state appropriation, student tuition and fees, miscellaneous chargeback revenue, and the cost recovery budget. The second one is trust funds. Miscellaneous course fees, miscellaneous revenue, and instructional related activities go into the trust funds. The third one is the student success fee, which includes the VEDI grant that's offered to the campus community in form of grants. The fourth one is lottery, campus-based allocations, and CO initiatives. The fifth source of revenue is housing, parking, health services, CEG, and all the auxiliary services. As you can see in the next slide, the trend looks like the state is funding us more than what we collect in tuition revenue, and this trend has started in 2017, and it continues to go in the right direction. And through the governor's compact that he has made over the next 5 years, this trend is expected to continue. The next slide shows our operating fund expenditures and the way it's broken down. Out of the $55 million in expenditures, 93% of the total expenses go towards staff, faculty, and students. Salary and benefits constitute 76% of all the expenditures. The next slide shows the allocation of funds in the state of California. As you can see, $286 billion was allocated in the governor's January budget and May revision and the final budget to the state of California. Out of that, higher education received 8% of the state budget, which is $22.8 billion. The California State University system received $4.8 billion, or 20.9% of the higher education budget, and CSU San Bernardino received $159.9 million, or 3.5% of the state's budget. The governor's 22-23 enacted budget included CSU's commitment to achieve the following goals through a multi-year compact: increasing access to CSU beginning in 23-24, increasing the California resident undergraduate enrollment by approximately 1% per year. If the compact has to be fulfilled, we have to meet those obligations, and as the President mentioned, Enrollment growth is all of our responsibilities. Improving student success and advancing equity through our GI 2025 efforts, increasing the affordability of the CSU education, increasing intersegmental collaboration to benefit students, including our partnership with K-12 institutions, community colleges, and UCs, supporting workforce preparedness and high-demand career pipelines, and providing access to online course offerings. The 2022-23 enacted budget included $11 million in base budget increase for CSUSB, and $5.3 million was base enrollment growth of 2.5%. The 5-year compact, 2022-23 to 26-27, as I mentioned, a graduation initiative increase of $1.7 million and $479,000 for the basic need components of the GI 2025 the President mentioned. Foster youth support for $486,000. And in the pipeline, our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Student Achievement Program, an increase of $8 million, and Project Rebound, an increase of $8 million. I should note that these two have not been received by the campus, but they are in the pipeline to come to us from the Chancellor's office. Next, the state appropriated one-time dollars for our campus priorities. And you all heard, and the President mentioned this as well, $79 million was allocated towards the Student Services Building project at the Palm Desert campus. And last week we kicked off that. Last week we kicked off the project, and there's a lot of support, as you know, in the Palm Desert area for that particular project. And $10 million was allocated towards the Master of Science in Physician Assistant program, which is a high-demand program for our community. We received $1.5 million to upgrade outdated pneumatic control systems that will be replaced with digital controls, and we received $2.2 million for weatherproofing and improving building performance to generate energy savings. So this is how, you've seen this slide before, this is how the budget cycle works. The CSU budget request goes from the Board of Trustees in September, and you will see in the next slide what that looks like. The governor's budget proposal is delivered in his January address. Legislative hearings happen between February and May, and governor's May revised budget is released in May. Final budget is released in June, and allocations are made to campus in July. I know this is a little hard to read, it's a small slide, but this is the Board of Trustees' requests above and beyond the compact that the governor had made to the state of California and to the CSU. Within the compact, we will receive $243 million, but the Board of Trustees are asking for an additional $286 million for a total of $529 million for the CSU for the upcoming 22-23 fiscal year. And some of the increases they're asking for is GI 2025 and basic needs. They're asking for an increase of $75 million, $311 million for workforce investments, $50.6 million for strategic resident enrollment growth, and $42.8 million for operational costs, and $50 million for academic facilities and infrastructure. So we'll go through the advocacy stage, and hopefully we will get funded the Board of Trustees requests. Finally, as you know, the budget.csusb.edu has a financial transparency portal in which displays CSUSB's finances over a multi-year period. There are several visualization tiles available that allow the user to explore various aspects of CSUSB's finance, view the financial data, view budget and revenue. In other words, every penny that's spent in the institution, you can see through the financial transparency portal that went live a couple of years ago.